One routine highway excavation in San Diego uncovered something no one expected, and what emerged from the ground has left archaeologists questioning parts of North America's ancient past. Beneath layers of earth, workers exposed evidence that may be tens of thousands of years old, challenging long-held beliefs about when humans first arrived on the continent. Was it a forgotten chapter of history, or proof that our timeline has been wrong all along? Let's uncover the discovery that's forcing experts to rethink everything they thought they knew. In 1992, construction crews working on the State Route 54 highway expansion near San Diego, California, were carrying out what seemed like an ordinary excavation. As heavy machinery removed layers of sediment, workers uncovered a collection of large fossilized bones buried several meters below the surface. The discovery immediately caught the attention of paleontologists because the remains belonged to an ancient mastodon, a distant relative of today's elephant that lived during the Ice Age. At first, it appeared to be another routine fossil find, but the deeper scientists looked, the more unusual the site became. When archaeologists carefully examined the excavation, they found that several of the mastodon's massive limb bones had been broken in ways that didn't resemble natural damage. Alongside the bones were large cobblestones, showing signs of repeated impact, leading some researchers to propose that they had been used as hammerstones and anvils to break open the bones. If that interpretation was correct, it meant intelligent beings had butchered or processed the mastodon long before the arrival dates accepted by mainstream archaeology. The most astonishing claim came years later, when scientists used uranium series dating to estimate the age of the site. Their analysis suggested the bones and surrounding material were approximately 130,000 years old. That date was extraordinary because the widely accepted evidence for the first humans in North America is much more recent. If humans, or another ancient human relative such as Neanderthals or Denisovans, really interacted with the mastodon at this site 130,000 years ago, it would force researchers to rethink one of the most fundamental chapters of human migration. The discovery became known as the Cerruti Mastodon Site, and even today it remains one of the most controversial archaeological discoveries ever made. At first glance, the site looked like an ordinary Ice Age fossil deposit, but as researchers mapped every bone fragment and stone exactly where it was found, a pattern began to emerge that seemed almost impossible to explain. The mastodon's ribs, tusks, vertebrae, and massive leg bones were not scattered randomly as they would be after a flood or the work of scavengers. Instead, some of the largest bones were concentrated in a small area, while broken fragments were spread around them in a way that suggested deliberate activity rather than natural processes. Even more intriguing were the stones discovered beside the fossils. Unlike the surrounding sediment, these heavy cobblestones appeared to have been transported to the site. Several displayed fractures, impact marks, and worn surfaces consistent with repeated forceful blows. Researchers from the San Diego Natural History Museum argued that these stones may have served as hammerstones and anvils, used to smash the mastodon's thick limb bones and expose the nutrient-rich marrow inside, a practice known from much later prehistoric archaeological sites. The broken bones themselves added to the mystery. Some of the mastodon's strongest leg bones had spiral fractures, a type of break that can occur when fresh bones are struck with significant force before they dry out. Supporters of the human activity hypothesis argued that these fracture patterns closely resemble those produced during controlled experiments in which fresh elephant bones were broken using stone hammers. Critics, however, contend that heavy construction equipment, geological pressure, or other natural processes could also account for some of the damage. This disagreement lies at the heart of the controversy. Was the Cerruti Mastodon Site preserving evidence of intelligent activity from around 130,000 years ago? Or were scientists seeing patterns that nature had created on its own? More than 3 decades after the discovery, that question remains unanswered. If the broken bones and battered stones really were the result of intelligent activity, there was one question that mattered more than any other. How old was the site? The answer would determine whether this was simply an unusual Ice Age fossil deposit or a discovery capable of rewriting the story of human migration. To find out, researchers turned to uranium series dating, a method used to determine the age of fossils far older than the range of radiocarbon dating. Instead of analyzing a single sample, the team tested multiple pieces of the mastodon's bones and tusks to reduce the chance of error. The results were astonishing. The remains consistently dated to approximately 130,000 years ago, placing the site during the last interglacial period. If those dates were accurate and the damage to the bones had truly been caused by ancient tool use, the discovery would push evidence of possible human or hominin activity in North America back by more than 100,000 years beyond the widely accepted timeline. The findings, published in Nature in 2017, immediately sent shockwaves through the scientific community. While many researchers agreed that the dating methods themselves were carefully conducted, they questioned the interpretation of the evidence. Could the fractures have been caused by natural geological forces, heavy construction equipment, or other processes instead of ancient tool use? Admirer argued that the pattern of broken bones, the placement of the stones, and the experimental comparisons with fresh elephant bones pointed toward deliberate activity. Critics remained unconvinced, insisting that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That disagreement has never been fully resolved. More than 3 decades after the bones were uncovered beneath a San Diego highway, the Cerruti Mastodon site remains one of archaeology's most controversial discoveries. Whether it represents the earliest evidence of ancient hominins in the Americas or an extraordinary natural coincidence is still one of the biggest unanswered questions in the study of human history. As the debate intensified, researchers began looking beyond the age of the fossils and the fractured bones. If ancient humans, or another hominin species, had really been present in North America 130,000 years ago, an even bigger mystery had to be solved. How could they have gotten there? According to the widely accepted timeline, modern humans did not enter the Americas until much later, with the oldest broadly accepted archaeological sites dating to around 15,000 to 16,000 years ago. A 130,000-year-old presence would fall during a period when Homo sapiens had only recently begun spreading beyond Africa, while other human relatives, including Neanderthals and the mysterious Denisovans, were still living across parts of Europe and Asia. This led to a series of bold but highly speculative possibilities. Some researchers suggested that an unknown group of ancient hominins may have reached North America far earlier than previously imagined, perhaps crossing land exposed during periods of lower sea levels or traveling along coastlines that are now submerged. However, no direct evidence, such as human bones, stone tools, footprints, or ancient DNA, has ever been found at the Cerruti Mastodon site to confirm that idea. That absence of direct evidence remains the strongest argument used by critics. They point out that every widely accepted archaeological site contains unmistakable signs of human occupation, such as crafted stone tools, hearths, or human remains. At Cerruti, the case depends almost entirely on the fractured mastodon bones and the battered cobblestones. Until more supporting evidence is discovered, the site will continue to stand at the center of one of archaeology's greatest mysteries, balanced between a revolutionary discovery and an extraordinary claim that has yet to convince the scientific majority. The controversy surrounding the Cerruti Mastodon site has only grown with time. Since the original findings were published, independent archaeologists, paleontologists, and geologists have closely examined the evidence, each trying to answer the same question. Were the broken bones truly the work of ancient hominins, or could nature have produced the same results? Critics argue that without unmistakable stone tools, human remains, or evidence of a campsite, the case remains incomplete. Some researchers suggest the fractures may have formed naturally over thousands of years through sediment pressure, shifting ground, or other geological processes. Others have questioned whether construction equipment used during the 1992 excavation could have accidentally damaged some of the bones before they were fully documented. These alternative explanations remain a major reason why the site has not been widely accepted as proof of an early human presence in the Americas. The original research team strongly disagrees. They maintain that the fossils were carefully excavated under controlled conditions after the initial discovery, and that the heavy machinery never disturbed the key evidence. They also point to the distinctive spiral fractures, the strategic arrangement of the cobblestones, and experimental studies showing that similar break patterns are produced when fresh elephant bones are struck with stone hammers. In their view, the combination of these clues is unlikely to have formed by chance alone. Today, the Cerruti mastodon site occupies a unique place in archaeology. It has not overturned the accepted timeline of human migration, but neither has it been dismissed outright. Instead, it stands as a reminder that science advances through evidence, testing, and debate. Whether future discoveries ultimately confirm or reject its extraordinary claims, the San Diego Highway excavation has already achieved something remarkable. It has forced scientists to re-examine assumptions that once seemed beyond question. The search for answers did not end in San Diego. Instead, the Cerruti mastodon site inspired scientists to take a fresh look at other archaeological discoveries that had long been dismissed because they seemed too old to fit the accepted timeline. Around the world, researchers began re-examining ancient sites with improved dating techniques, microscopic analysis, and advanced imaging technologies, asking whether earlier generations of scientists may have overlooked important clues. In North America, several controversial sites have also claimed evidence of human activity far earlier than the traditional timeline. Discoveries at locations such as White Sands in New Mexico, where ancient human footprints have been dated to roughly 21,000 to 23,000 years ago, have already shown that people were present in the Americas much earlier than many researchers once believed. Although these sites are far younger than the Cerruti mastodon claim of 130,000 years, they demonstrate that the story of the first Americans is still evolving as new evidence emerges. Even so, the Cerruti mastodon site remains in a category of its own. No other accepted archaeological site in the Americas comes close to its proposed age, and no independent discovery has yet confirmed the presence of humans or other hominins in North America 130,000 years ago. Until such evidence is found, the site will continue to divide opinion between those who see it as a revolutionary breakthrough and those who believe the case is still unproven. Whether history is ultimately rewritten or not, one thing is certain. A routine highway excavation uncovered far more than the bones of an Ice Age animal. It uncovered a question that continues to challenge scientists today. Have we truly found the earliest chapter of human history in the Americas, or is the real answer still waiting to be discovered beneath the ground? For now, the mystery remains unsolved. The accepted scientific view still holds that the first confirmed human populations reached the Americas much later than the age proposed for the Cerruti mastodon site. Yet, history has shown that scientific understanding is never fixed. New discoveries, improved dating methods, and fresh evidence have repeatedly forced researchers to revise ideas that were once considered unquestionable. If another site is uncovered with the same combination of ancient dates, broken animal bones, and unmistakable signs of tool use, or better yet, the remains of an ancient hominin, the debate could change overnight. Such a discovery would provide the independent evidence that many archaeologists say is still missing. Until then, the Cerruti mastodon site remains an extraordinary claim supported by intriguing but heavily disputed evidence. Perhaps the greatest legacy of this San Diego excavation isn't that it has already rewritten the human timeline, but that it has challenged scientists to keep searching. Every new excavation, every fossil, and every technological breakthrough brings us closer to understanding who first walked across the Americas and when they arrived. Sometimes the most important discoveries don't give us all the answers. They leave us with questions so profound that they reshape the way we search for the truth. And buried beneath an ordinary stretch of highway in San Diego lies one of those questions, one that may not be answered for years or even decades to come. One detail that often gets overlooked is that the Cerruti mastodon site has never been recognized as an archaeological site in the traditional sense. Unlike places where researchers uncover stone tools, fire pits, shelters, or human remains, this location produced none of those unmistakable signs of occupation. The entire argument rests on the condition of the mastodon bones and the nearby cobblestones. That is exactly why the site remains so controversial. Its interpretation depends on indirect evidence rather than direct proof of human presence. The mastodon itself, belonged to an extinct species, Mammoth americanum, which roamed much of North America during the Pleistocene epoch. These massive animals could stand nearly 10 feet, 3 meters, tall at the shoulder, and weigh several tons. By studying the fossilized remains, paleontologists concluded that the animal was an adult and that several of its largest limb bones had been fractured while they were still fresh. Fresh bone behaves differently from fossilized bone, and the distinctive spiral fractures became one of the strongest observations supporting the original research team's interpretation. Researchers also carried out controlled experiments using elephant carcasses, the closest modern equivalent to mastodons, to compare fracture patterns. By striking fresh elephant bones with large stone hammerstones, they were able to reproduce breakage that resembled what was seen at the Cerruti site. The experiments demonstrated that such fractures could indeed result from deliberate impacts. However, critics emphasize that showing something can happen is not the same as proving it did happen at this location. That distinction is what continues to define the debate. The Cerruti mastodon site is not controversial because its fossils are fake or because its age has been disproven. It is controversial because scientists are still trying to determine whether the evidence points to intelligent behavior or to natural processes that can sometimes produce surprisingly similar results. Until new evidence tips the balance, the site will remain one of the most closely examined and most fiercely debated discoveries in American archaeology. The impact of the Cerruti mastodon site extends far beyond a single excavation in California. If evidence of human or hominin activity from 130,000 years ago were ever confirmed, it would force scientists to reconsider not only when the Americas were first reached, but also how ancient populations moved across the planet. It would suggest that early human relatives were far more adaptable and capable of long-distance migration than previously believed. Today, the dominant theory is that modern humans entered North America from Siberia via the Bering Land Bridge during the last ice age, with the earliest widely accepted archaeological evidence dating to around 15,000 to 16,000 years ago. More recent discoveries, including ancient footprints at White Sands National Park in New Mexico, have pushed that timeline back to roughly 21,000 to 23,000 years ago. Even so, those dates remain over 100,000 years younger than the age proposed for the Cerruti mastodon site. Because of that enormous gap, many researchers believe that extraordinary evidence would be needed before such a dramatic revision could be accepted. Archaeologists continue to search for additional sites containing unmistakable artifacts, human fossils, or preserved DNA that could either support or challenge the claims made at Cerruti. So far, no discovery has independently confirmed a hominin presence in North America 130,000 years ago. For now, the San Diego excavation remains a scientific puzzle rather than a settled fact. It stands as a reminder that every major breakthrough in archaeology begins with a single discovery, and that the strongest ideas are those that survive years of testing, debate, and new evidence. Whether the Cerruti mastodon site ultimately changes the human timeline or becomes a cautionary tale about interpreting ancient evidence, its legacy has already reshaped one important part of science. It has encouraged researchers to question assumptions and keep searching for answers hidden beneath the earth. One thing is certain: some of history's greatest secrets are still waiting beneath our feet, regardless of whether this discovery ultimately rewrites the human timeline or continues to be one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Thanks for watching. To ensure you never miss our next in-depth exploration of the most exciting secrets in the world, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown.